Hello, and welcome to Founder Freedom, from hustler to CEO, the podcast built for e-commerce entrepreneurs and small business owners who are ready to work less, earn more, and scale smarter. I'm your host, Stephen Palmer, and today we're talking about a company reimagining the window cleaning industry while raising the bar on personal freedom. Today's guest is Perry Tate, founder of Reach It, a standout brand revolutionizing the future of commercial window cleaning. Let's jump in with Perry. Hey, Perry, how are you doing today?
I am doing mighty fine.
Awesome.
I'm pretty pumped, actually. I think I'm in good spirits.
Yeah, and it's the end of your day, so that's awesome.
It is the end of my day. It's like 7:30, 8 o'clock, something like that at night.
Nice. So can you tell us a little bit about Reach It's value proposition to the world here?
I mean, people call me the Dyson of the window cleaning industry. I think that pretty much sort of gives an amazing intro of, which I've got to live up to now.
Yeah, 20 minutes. I like it.
But what we do, if I go back through my whole life, the things that I've touched that have been successful for me have been things to do with efficiency. And so when I was a single dad, I don't know if I go back this far, but I'll jump over it. But when I was a single dad, I had to do something and I became a window cleaner. And then I looked at how inefficient it was. And then eventually I've got to, starting Reach It, and then we'll go over that maybe. And then everything which we've done, and we don't copy anybody, we reinvent everything, and I've reimagined everything, and I've looked at the original visualizations of the guys who changed the industry 50 and 90 years ago, and we're re-looking at it again. Like, I don't know if people know, but squeegee rubber hasn't changed for 90 years.
Right.
For 90. And window cleaning before I got involved was 50 years basically unchanged. There were two innovators, one 50 years before and one 20 years before, and they changed the industry. And but then everybody copied and stuck with their compromises where you could see what they wanted to achieve, but they didn't. And so I kind of picked up on that and said, well, what if we could do it now? It's everything, technology and life and new thinking and different people and all that. So what we bring to the table is innovation. Everybody copies us in due course when they can see that it's successful. It might be 5 years later, it might be 10 years later, it might be 1 year later, then they copy us because they go, oh shit, we're losing. I make products that make window cleaners faster, and our competitors copy us to make products so they don't lose so many sales to us.
Nice.
That's
probably the best answer to this question yet.
Okay.
I like it.
Then, next question.
So you kind of talked about, you touched on this a little bit, but what inspired you to create the brand?
So there's an interesting twist in the story. I was window cleaning. I was selling cleaning franchise. I sold over 250 cleaning franchises for VIP home services in Australia. And then somebody came along and said, have you got a window cleaning business? And we said, no, we only have cleaning and lawn care, which you guys would call it, lawn mowing, we call it. I saw the products that was being sold in the UK. Craig Morlam from Ionics was the guy who invented the pure water side of the industry. And so I went over and did his British Window Cleaning Academy course and learned from him what he was doing. But the products he was making were perfect for the UK market. But when I understood the chemistry of water, our water was much softer, way softer. Their TDS was like 1200, 1900. Ours was like 100, 50, 40, really different.
Oh, yeah. Big difference.
So I started making products that suited our water rather than buying his products and being out of context. And then I was buying poles out of Denmark and in brushes out of Finland and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. And then as it happened, so I was making products out of a Kennard storage unit in Auburn in Sydney. And then a friend of mine was a Chinese Australian, or he was an Australian Chinese. I don't know which one. He's born in China. And he said, come to China with me and do this solar thermal, which is solar water heating with using sun, right? For a company called Ecotherm, which is an Austrian company, which is world leader in for 5-star hotels, life of building type solar solutions. Yeah. Okay. Like it's perfect. Everything's amazing. So I did that and we got this big sale, and then he wouldn't pay me. I'd paid my way for a year in China. I got my little boy with me, he was 17, and he was working at the World Expo in Shanghai, and I was all over China looking for jobs. And then we got a big deal, and then he wouldn't pay me. So I go, okay, that's it. I'm not going to work. You want to offer me a salary? I did, dude, I'm not a salary type of guy, right? Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, what am I going to do? We're not going back. We've got to burn the bridges. We can't go to China and come back and say we're losers, right? We could burn the bridges. I'll sell everything, even my paper records, everything's gone. Nothing left in Australia. We'll just start a business, and it'll be like the Berenstain Bears, those books, like the dad teaches the little bear, and I'll either show you how it's done right, or you'll learn the lesson with me about what doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly. So 2011, we registered futureofcleaning.com, and we worked from an apartment on the 20th floor of some building in Shanghai. And I was building crappy little websites and making phone calls and selling. I could only buy 10 poles at a time. I had no money, right? I had $6,000 US I started with at that point. And Harrison, my son, was like 18, maybe just turning 18. And, we couldn't buy beers. People invite us out for beers. And I go, dude, we haven't got money. And so he was assembling, and then he was learning media, social media and websites and all that. We kind of started like that, and we survived, and then we ended up growing, and we ended up with an amazing partnership with a company called WCR, who ultimately became our antagonist. But it's interesting. They were definitely amazing to help us at the beginning when we moved into the American market. And then we grew, and we kept being able to pick different parts of we started with poles, and then we got to pure water, and then we got to brushes, and so step by step we've revolutionized every aspect of window cleaning. And now we're just in the process of, which is a later question, of traditional window cleaning, squeegees and stuff like that. We're looking at that, how to dice in that stuff. Yeah, how's that?
That's pretty.
I'm talking as fast as I can because they're long stories.
Pretty in depth. There's a lot that went into that, but I mean, there's a lot of different points, right? So the need to have an income, the desire to solve some stodgy situation in an industry that hasn't changed in a long time. I like it.
Yep. Yeah, like the basic rule is you have to know people to sell to. You have to find people, right? And then you have to find out what they want, and then you have to deliver what they want tomorrow today.
Yep.
So that they'll buy from you. Otherwise, somebody else will deliver to them tomorrow, right? So it's all innovation, and then the other guys are in copy because they're losing. Yeah. Right. They're not losing. They're profitable businesses, but the greed that drives that mentality of business, right. It's different style to ours,
That's an incredible story that led to the journey of the brand creation. So what were some of the gaps that you saw in the market that led you to follow this path?
Well, roof cleaners were making $300 an hour, or maybe 600. Exterior cleaners were making 150 to 250, maybe on par, good jobs. So there's always jobs you lose money on too. Yeah. And that's what people don't realize. Or there's a season where you can't do anything. So then you've got to actually make enough money in the good season to cover the bad season. So that's your carpet cleaning, window cleaning, exterior services. Like they've all got to make, apart, if you're below latitude 35 in the States, okay, it's 24/7, 365. Yeah. You can be working. But when you get up where you are in Michigan, right, there's 4 months you can't clean windows, so somebody's going to sit at home during that time, and they've got to have enough money in the bank to be able to get to the next season and pay their staff and pay their rent and all that through the snowed in times, that. So, but window cleaners were making $60 to $100 an hour. This is the lowest paid, like non-regular. You're not like I used to sell lawn mowing and house cleaning, right? Lawn mowing and house cleaning, you mow the lawn every 2 weeks. You clean the house every week or 2 weeks for the person, and you can say how many customers I've got, what's my hourly rate, what's my travel time that I'm losing in the middle, can I consolidate my round, and all that sort of thing. And then you can get your 50, 60, 70,000 a year out of one mum and dad team working. Window cleaning is not like that. And so $60 to $100 an hour, nobody could scale. So you got all these little technicians running around. I'm a window cleaner. I'm Pete, the amazing window cleaner. So a lucky day, I'm here to clean your windows, but Pete can't scale because he's not making enough money for the engine to blow up. He's not making enough money to buy another car. He's not making enough money he's not even making enough money to prepare for his retirement, put his kids in private school, have great holidays. He's not making enough money to do any of the things that the other guys are doing. So that's what I saw was the problem. Window cleaning needs to get faster. Price stays the same, deliver the job faster, hourly rate goes up.
Nice. What was the existing way of doing things that you defined as broken or inefficient?
Well, most guys, if you go back when I started, water-fed was heavy poles or flexible poles, not using 100% carbon fiber because they're really expensive. I thought I didn't have enough money to get into the middle of the market or to the mass market because I'm only buying 10 poles at a time. So I thought I'll make the best poles I can from the beginning and we'll just hit the professional market. The guys who really want to clean faster, I'll give them a faster tool, but they've got to have the money to be able to do that. So we've never chased the middle of the market. We've got loads of haters who are just middle of the market guys. We don't they'll never be our customer anyway, so they can hate on us. The guys who hate guys who drive Mercedes or Ferraris or Lotuses or whatever, they're never going to be your customer, So we just focus that, at the top is the super professional, and then there's the janitorial, the middle of the market window cleaners have been there somewhere, which is fine. The technician market's great, and there's some wonderful business in there if you've got enough money to service it. Back then we didn't, know. And then there's the janitorial market, and then there's the DIY market, the clean your own home, clean your own windows market, right? So we just said, we have not got enough money to do anything else than this. And that was really a great decision. And we were kind of fortunate that we had no money because we pursued being the best and only making the best. And that became endemic in the brand, in the culture of the company and the way we trained our staff and the factory that we built and all that sort of stuff.
That's nice.
Everybody understands, don't save the company money, make the best product. I will sell it for what it needs, the margin it needs on top of the cost. Don't worry about the cost, whereas everybody else is making everything to fail. Yeah. Brushes last 6 months. Our brushes last forever. Poles last 2 years. Our brushes last 10, 12, 14 years. You know what I mean? Everything's made the best. Now, it's not that the challenges are a lot of things went wrong on that journey because I had never been in manufacturing before. Sure. I've never redesigned products. I've never reimagined products. I've never done any of that before. I'm a window cleaner. It's gone into manufacturing, So there was a lot of things that didn't go right, that weren't perfect. Yes.
But Dyson has many failures.
If we were allowed to cuss, you'd say there's a lot of mistakes
in his catalog too. So
and nobody that's right. And nobody like when people look at the price you sell your products for, you go, those prices have got to pay for R&D for all the things that you don't get right. Then we've got a product now. We've just released Z-Force or what if it razor blade, right? Really, really amazing product. But it's got, even though we thought we had it exactly right, it's still got some challenges. So we're just releasing version 2 of it. We're not telling anybody it's version 2. We're just going to replace all of the version 1 so everybody's got the same and then carry on. But there's a cost to that. There's always that cost to say we've got to be able to afford to replace every unit that we've sold if it doesn't work the way we want it to work, or the way it's expected to work, or the way it's being used, which we didn't imagine it would be used, right? The loads and forces that people put on it is different to the loads and forces we tested with prototype testers who are gentle and professional and sharp and efficient and clever. And
it's a very different way to run a company for sure. Very different. So how does your product or your company solve those problems better than the acting alternatives?
Well, there's nobody innovating in the industry. There are some innovators, and when I say in the industry, in our sector of the industry, the Mormon, Wagtail, there are brands that have revolutionized the traditional products somewhat, but they've left areas alone that they haven't changed, which, like the squeegee rubbers, the same as it was 90 years ago. Maybe some different in composition, but not much change to them. So in our sector, which we call water-fed window cleaning, which is external cleaning with pure water, demineralized water.
Okay.
So we wash the window, but there's nothing, water evaporates, right? So when you see a spot, the spot is either dirt or minerals that were in the water anyway, that were tap water, right? When the bead of water evaporates, it has a surface tension and then it gathers everything together, and then whatever's in that water, whether it's minerals or dirt, will leave a spot because they don't disappear with evaporation. So if we demineralize the water and we wash the windows and we use the right technique and we don't introduce any dirt into the rinse water, then the last thing on the glass is pure water, and that pure water evaporates on your windows and spot free, right? So then the question is, now you can do the same. By the way, I go, there's nothing about a clean window. You can clean a window I clean my mum's windows with a broom and tap water on a hose right above the broom, because in Kaikoura, New Zealand, the tap water is spot free, right? You can clean your own windows with methylated spirits or Windex and newspaper. So there's nothing rocket science about, can I clean a window? Every product on the market cleans a window. That's not the issue. That's your $20 an hour, $50 an hour, $60 an hour, $100 an hour stuff, right? So all our competitors, the hourly rate which you'll get with their product, even though you'll clean windows, and even if they say that's the same as ours, it's like buying a pair of Ray-Bans from the little stall with a Chinese guy in the middle of the shopping center and go, look at Ray-Bans, but you never tried a real pair of Ray-Bans on, so you don't know. So you think that's what Ray-Bans are like, and you think it's cool. But if they don't try our products, nobody ever tried our products, and they buy a copy of our product or whatever, then they think that's what they've got, and then they wait for it to fail before they try our brand and all of that. So the innovation is about saying it's not whether you can clean a window, you can clean a window. The question is how fast, because you can charge the same no matter how fast you do it, and speed is a customer service. Do you want your customer to hang around and follow you around the house while it takes you 4 hours to clean the windows, or can you clean all the windows in the house in 2 hours for the same price and let Mrs. Jones go and play bingo or golf or go and have a cup of tea or do whatever she wants, run around the house naked? I don't care, right? She can do whatever she wants, but I'm not there, right? It's her time, and that's I think that's a customer service, and you've paid for real money.
Absolutely. Yep. I was a contractor too in my lifetime, and that is the best thing for a homeowner, is to have an efficient worker that you don't have to look at, that you don't have to look after.
You only have to look at carpet cleaning, right? The guy who can come in and out of your house in 2 hours and say, Mrs. Jones, 20 minutes later, you can walk on your carpets. Or the guy you got who rented the system from Walmart, fills it up with hot water from your tap, and he says, Mrs. Jones, I've washed your carpets, but they'll be wet and you can't walk on them for 24 hours and they might smell a bit musty. Sorry about that. Here's a spray bottle you can spray to get the bad smell out. You know what I mean? It's a no-brainer to pay the guy who's got the big truck steam machine or the dry cleaning machine intermittently, the steam cleans better, but the dry cleaning, the encapsulation process is real as a interim clean,
Absolutely. I used to joke and tell some people the watchers, because usually it didn't bother me, because I didn't have any skill problems or whatever. But if they're like this, I would turn around and go, there's a fee for that. They're like, what? I'm watching and trying to steal my secrets.
Nice. Well, but see, that's window cleaning is like, can I bring, like, Mrs. Jones, when you paid for this house, how important was the view out of the kitchen window, lounge room window, glass room, or whatever, lounge room, like the view that you've got, whether it's a golf course or ocean or a nice big backyard or a beautiful tree that gets lit up at night? So how important was that in your buying decision for that property? right? That's really, apart from the kitchen and the bathroom, really nice and the layout, but that was pretty important. Well, how about I just make your windows transparent and you just see that? Like, I'll bring your outside in. Your windows are meant to be transparent. You shouldn't be seeing the window before you see the garden. You should be seeing the garden and not see the window.
Right.
If you don't mark your door, you will walk into it, right? You need little markers on your door to say, this is my sliding door and it is currently closed. Because I've had people, while I'm in the house, walk into their own door.
That's something, right? And it does.
And that's the thing. I was a window cleaner. Like, I'm not a guy who owns a factory who's never cleaned windows. I was a window cleaner. So when a customer comes to me, like a window cleaner comes to me and said, it'll be really cool. I got a guy today. He said, can you make this product? I go, why? He goes, because here in the UK, we don't sell much in the UK, but it's a weird market because it's consumerism applied to industrial tools. Like, everything's disposable and they prefer to pay less and buy it more often. And that doesn't wash with me. I'm more Germanic and in a sense, make the old, granddad had a drill and he should be able to give it to his son and son should be able to give it to his son, that kind of golf clubs, that kind of, I like making that kind of stuff, And so, but he says, oh yeah, because we want to do this and want to do that. I'm like, oh, that's all right. Okay. Well, we've got 14 new products in production right now in work in progress. So winter this year, I will tackle that product for you because his reason was good. One person can give me one reason, and that's enough for me to say, okay, well, if there's one, there's got to be 1,000. If there's 1,000, I've got to break even. Something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good inspiration. I like it. Let's say I'm new to your brand. Maybe you cold call me, and then I'm considering buying some of your stuff, and I'm looking at your website. So, what's the biggest misconception that people might have about what your company does in whole?
The biggest misconception is actually sowed by our misinformation, disinformation, censorship, and distortion, and everything competition. The guys who actually got because we're not big on cold calling or anything like that, because we're overseas. We're not in our core market, per se. So they say our product is the same as their product. It's exactly like that Ray-Ban stand in the middle of the shopping mall saying this is a Ray-Ban, this is an Oakley, this is this. And then the customer doesn't know any different. He trusts them because they're a salesman. They're a big brand. They're great. They're amazing business people, but mafia style, not my style, and built-in failure, obsolescence into the products, which I don't like. I like sustainability. All of our products can be replaced. You never buy another brush. You just replace the bristles. Anything, you drop it and it breaks. You buy the bit that broke. You don't buy another one, right? Like that. So our brushes are all made of aluminum, for example.
So your product is a forever product versus a throwaway marketplace.
Yeah. And you can just, any part of it, you can replace. And that's Dyson and that's Apple. I've got an iPhone 7 that I use for my American phone number,
Right.
It keeps on. I've never had to service it. Yeah. But I still get my little updates, feeding into it from time to time,
Nice.
My little software updates,
So I'm going to summarize it for you because you had a lot of words there. Basically, you have an elite brand catalog and nobody can really compete with that. It's like buying Mercedes or something similar.
Tesla. Tesla's very good because Tesla doesn't have distributors to say they sell direct. We don't have distributors in America. We have them globally, but not in America because we want to sell direct. We want to tell our story. If you're going to choose a brush, we don't want you choosing between this brand of brush or that brand of brush or what I've got in the storeroom that hasn't been selling, which is the best brush you've ever seen, right? That's going to clean windows faster than anything, but because I need to move them, right? Because otherwise it's going to be dead stock. Don't have that. When anybody talks about our brand, it's which brush is going to clean this window, that window faster. So we make brushes that are designed for the task so that you can clean windows faster, make more alley rate, that window, that type of window, that job. And then somebody comes to us and they've got a whole university clean and every window is exactly the same width. We can make a brush that width if we like them. Sure. And we've got to like them. So they've got to be a dude that I really like because I've got to make a custom brush. And that's not that easy. But we've done it before. So the brush is exactly the width of the window. He can go up and down, and it's clean. He goes to the next one, up and down, and it's clean.
Perfect.
Amazing money.
Perfect.
That's my old buddy, Louis is the guy I'm thinking of, Louis Ruiz.
Nice. So do you have either a customer success story or maybe a mission-related success story for your brand?
Our life is pretty much the success story from our side, right? That you can only have freedom if you've helped other people get what they want. And every week I get people like writing to me. And I'm not the guy. I appreciate it because it inspires me. And we do have down days where we've made mistakes or we get attacked by the haters. And I take it personally a little bit. I'm less every year. I get less, but I really care. And I care about the result for the customer as well. So if we made a mistake and somebody had a bad experience, then we think no man left behind, nothing for nothing, every labor is worthy of his hire and all that kind of thing, so we shouldn't be profiting out of other people's misfortune. And especially that misfortune, if they bought from us and something went wrong. But some guys can handle our customer service and say, we'll fix it. And other guys just they'd rather be a hater. It's a really weird thing that's happened over the last 5 or 10 years. The big change, what happened in America, happened in Britain first, and then Canada, and then the Americans started becoming less accepting that things go wrong for anybody else other than themselves. We know things go wrong. We know window cleaners get called back because there's a streak or a spot or this or that. We know it happens. But when something goes wrong in somebody else's business servicing them, that's not okay. There's a really weird distortion of character through that woke stuff. Sure. Everybody came. But
I like the no man left behind analogy. I was just watching a story last night about the extraction of bin Laden. It was a great operation. I mean, the way that they told the story, stuff went wrong, but they still got their task completed. So,
I've got another one, which I think is really important, which is also lacking in so many industries, is on the field and off the field, because I love football, all footballs, like rugby league, rugby union, American football. My son plays flag football. He's just been on an international tour in Ningbo, China, against all sorts of people from all sorts of countries. And there's the on the field, I'll kill you. Like they were playing flag football, so it's not kill you, but real football is kill you. Then rugby league is the kill you footballs, because there's no protection and man on man with a 30-foot starting gap, right? Hitting hard. And that's on the field. But off the field, that's marketing, that's business, right? And then off the field, we should all be buddies and go, holy shit, you really won that marketing battle, or that, campaign killed us or whatever. You can just have a laugh and a beer. But sadly, our industry doesn't have any of that. It's like you're for us or against us. You're our customer or you're not. And if somebody mentions reach it in the wrong place, then they get censored and cut. And I was in a Pentecostal religion that was cult-like. It wasn't as cult-ish as some of the man-made or man-inspired.
Man-inspired. Wrong man-inspired.
But we can't. It's sensitive if you're still in that network, which is very functional and very great for the soul and great for fellowship and great for camaraderie and great to keep you away from hypocrisy, hopefully. But I was in a group that was very Pentecostal cult, and when I challenged too much, they excommunicated me. And then, for example, we had 300 people at our wedding, and only 2 people contacted us to see if we were okay.
Oh, jeez.
Because they can't touch you, right? It's like you're now on the out, and our brand gets that because we don't sell through distributors. So they say, oh, you see, they've got no distributors because nobody likes them or they're bad or something like that. We don't want distributors because we need to be free, and we want to be responsible for the destiny that we create. We want the destiny to come from what we did for people, not what we did for the distributor.
Sure.
And we want the feedback direct to me so that I can design new tools because somebody said, can I do that? Or could you do this? Or like the 14 projects we've got going now are all driven by somebody going, can you?
You kind of almost answering my next question, which is what trends are shaping the future of Reach It? And you're already doing it because you do it every day. You listen to your customers and then you challenge yourself to see if you can solve their particular problems.
Their particular problem, thinking if there's one, there must be 100 or 1,000. If there's 1,000, I've got to break even. Like sometimes I'll chase something and there's only 100 and I don't make money. But
you're staying true to your brand, your brand's core mission of solving.
We've got amazing guys in Australia because Australia has not gone down that. Like we've got a shall we right, like work together. The culture's still there, right? What used to be in America more. Like there are definitely loads of guys in America that are like that, but yes, the Aussies are still a little bit more. They don't mind like being prototype testers, giving ideas, testing products. And
what advice do you have for other business owners that are looking to stay ahead of the curve today, either in just general business development or e-commerce specifically? Potholes to avoid.
There's a no-brainer that you've got to get into AI, right? So I'm lucky because my freedom is because I have a 32-year-old son who started with me at 17 when we were in Shanghai and had nowhere to go, right? So he's now the general manager he's my 50-50 partner. There's no 51-49. Dad's the big boss, we either agree or we disagree. If we disagree, we come up with another idea. We just let it go. Say, we can't agree, can't persuade me. I can't persuade him. Let's go to the next idea, right? We don't have to hang on. We've got loads of ideas, got unlimited ideas. Yeah. So we don't have to hang on to this one, right? Just go. I like that. So you've got to have a great attitude to life and you've got to be passionate about what you do and you've got to love what you do. I think that's really important. And there are times you hate it, but it's like a relationship. You can love somebody and then fall out of love. But as long as you trust them and you know them, you can find love again. Like in businesses like that, you can fall out of love with your business, but as long as you trust your business and you've built it and you've worked on it and it knows you and you know it, and you can fall in love with it again, in due course, But I think the real thing for the future is definitely doing whatever time you can. I don't do an hour a day. I don't do very much with AI, but my son does 1 to 2 hours a day, to say, how can AI help me? Because that is going to leverage. And there's a fantastic, by the way, I think it's Gary V679, which my son sent me to watch, and I watched it. And he just talks really quickly about, he turns over 350 million with X number of staff. And now he needs to go to 600 million with the same staff. No more hiring, right? Everybody's got to get into AI. Everybody's got to leverage their role, and everybody's got to do more with using AI to make their job safer.
Well, that's a wrap here, folks, on another episode of Founder Freedom. Huge thanks to Perry Tate for sharing how freedom isn't a finish line, it's a strategy. Perry is living the Founder Freedom mission from hustler to CEO, and now to salty air and sea breezes in Thailand, right? So don't forget to check out futureofcleaning.com to see what real innovation looks like, or just to follow his journey and get inspired to chart your own. If you like what you heard here, subscribe and share the episode. Leave us a review to help other founders find their path to freedom. Until next time, keep creating, keep scaling, and never lose your style.